everyone, my name is Andrew, and we have a lot of shows and medias that we watch that either got canceled abruptly or ended super abruptly or kept going till they finished, but you felt like there was a little bit more they could have added to character development or world building. Some examples are like Love Hina, that you could have a lot of ideas and character development with. You have Those Who Hunt Elves, you have a lot of ideas and world building that you could do with it. And this one that I will be talking about soon, Stand by Youth, that for the life of me, I cannot find another volume, and it's been at least about 10 years. Kick off the series with really good potential and a great story and plot to go with. This one, we're going to be talking about the mutant wants to kiss his human girlfriend. So I get why people hate already the name, but bear with me, it actually has a lot of potential. Now, it took me back because I did read this a while back when it first came out, and it took a very long time, I think, to actually finish the series up. So I finally took a look back, and it actually really did have a ton of potential. So the setting, more or less, is a portion of the whole Earth is basically ruled over monsters or mutants, and there's little towns and areas that humans still survive in, and it kind of gives you a desert punk kind of vibe where the humans have to go out, they have to scavenge, come back, and that's how they kind of live. This is where we meet our first main character, Mayutaro, who is a mutant and who just ponders, and as the days tick by, he just wonders the great philosophies of the world. How do I get a girlfriend? And how can I kiss my girlfriend? Oh, the great philosophies. But anyways, as I was saying, as the days tick by, he finally sees that there's someone fighting a bunch of mutants. Someone that is really fighting a bunch of mutants. And it's a girl named Rin, and he decides to go help her. And as he's helping her, he actually starts to just instantly fall in love with her. So after the fight happens, Rin introduces herself. She actually has to name Mayutaro because he didn't have a name in the beginning. Because, it's a wasteland, so no one really calls each other by name. So he finally gets the name, he confesses to her, and then there's some weird, maybe I'm just mistranslating it, or maybe there's something going on with the translation. But if you guys know what it means, because she kind of says that, like, the confession was lame, but I feel like I'm reading it wrong. But Rin does comfort him, saying that they'll meet again, and this is where you get another tidbit that Mayutaro is a virgin, and his cells become wild if he's like either aroused or he's very like strongly emotioned, and that he can't necessarily control. So far already with that plot line of him confessing, instantly falling in love, getting rejected, um, his mutant powers kind of going haywire at some points. Those are all good key points that you can have further in your plot. So it's going well so far. So now we learn a little bit more about Rin, though, and she plans to trap Mayutaro because he could be worth a lot of money. The reason why she's doing this and why she's so strong to face against mutants, well, you get a really quick summary from the henchman of basically she was experimented on a lot, experimented. She ended up getting strong powers, and she needs the money to help her mom survive from the surgery that she got infected at some point. See, all this would have been fantastic if they really built it up. They really slowly cooked it. They gave her a little bit more time for the backstory, and that way you could really connect with her emotionally, where she's not wanting to necessarily do this, but she has to. So that's one of the things. As it turns out, the trap doesn't go well. He finds out his genes go haywire, but he actually feels sorry for Rin. And it kind of all ends well, where they all become friends to the point where there's a storm coming. Rin can't escape anywhere. The two henchmen kind of take their bike and go home. And Rin has to stay in a cave, which is hilarious. Because the entire time she does make fun of him, tease him, and he just launches to the ceiling through his cave. And it's like a really funny, like, Looney Tunes sketch, if you've ever seen one, or a Tom and Jerry sketch where you see them just like flying up and they're just talking to the birds and stuff. This is where you meet a new character named Pochi, who is a scorpion but can manifest into a human esque form, who tries to fight Rin because she thinks she's taking her man, even though no one knows what she's saying. And as soon as they try and fight, a comedic spot happens, which is really funny. And Mayutaro's like, I can't understand her either. I don't know what she's talking about. Sorry, I had to stop myself from laughing a little too much on camera because there's more funny bits and exchanges that happen between Pochi and Rin because Pochi starts to try and pick up like actual human language, and there's a lot of good comedy spots. It just makes me laugh. Pochi then tells Maitaro and Rin that he's going to be really strongly sought after because he can take human form and because this whole situation that happened. Apparently, in the beginning, there was a nuke, and mutants were enslaved at that point in time. And one of the mutants protected some of the humans while the nuke hit. He turned into dust, and that's what created a lot of the other mutants. But the heart of that particular first mutant became Mayutaro. And all the kingdoms of these individual monsters decided that no one can interfere with this guy's life until he has like grown a conscience. He's kind of a little bit more powerful. So we're not going to talk to him at all. On hearing that, you get one of the king's daughters that ends up seeing them and is like, "All right, it's older now. I'm gonna go see him." And it comes a really good comedy spot where she's like, "Yeah, you're my childhood friend." And he's like, "I've never had any friends growing up." And then he takes one look at her, he's like, "Yeah, childhood friend, yeah, what's up?" And it's fantastic to the point where Rin and Pochi go off, have their own drinks of their own, and you get another comedy spot with Rin and this childhood friend who doesn't really have a name. I think she has like a name and they say it once and that's it, pretty much. There's a really good comedy spot there where he just loses his like mind over the chemicalness, and it's amazing. But again, you don't really get too much of a backstory on this childhood friend or on Pochi, who, yeah, I picked up one day, and that's it. There's no side quest, there's no backstory, nothing, which is kind of a bigger problem with this series as it goes on. After that segment, there's a ship crashing that has another one of these um, female people that are looking for him, I think. Um, they crash down. Mayutaro tries to help, and apparently the pilot is a princess from a human colony that I don't think they say the name of for some reason. And it becomes this huge thing where he's like, oh no, it's an actual monster. No, attack him. And they let this thing out that they were trying to capture and transport back to the kingdom. And it turns out that he got so excited that he turned into a Godzilla. sorry, sorry. He turns into a Godzilla, and he gets even more excited to the another aspect where he starts growing a little bit bigger, and then it turns into this comedy spot where Rin and this princess and this fox girl, who is the captive, doesn't have a name, mind you, and they start trying to talk him down and like negotiating different like stuff so that he'll calm down, and it's a really funny comedy spot. But after that, there is no particular story that involves this fox lady. There's no particular story that involves the princess. It's past that. And now we get like I would say a sub story where he's kind of just chilling back at his home base because he got exhausted from transforming. Pochi comes back with a suitor who's like really trying to go out with her. And this guy ends up fighting Mayutaro. And they're fighting to the point where they're on both on the ground. They're like, "Hey, let's be friends instead." And he's like, "Yeah." So they end up being friends, and he actually invites him to a mixer. And then the worst possible thing happens. I think it got axed basically. So the artist or the author just like did a quick write up where Rin goes up to him and says, "Yeah, don't go to the mixer." And then that's basically what happens. That's it. There's not really a spoiler alert because the ending doesn't really signify anything that's going to happen that's going to impact the story at all. It ends abruptly. And that's kind of the most disappointing part of this series is that this has, if you rebooted it, this has so much potential. You have the first mutants that you could have talked about. You could have had the whole kingdom of these monsters. This owl creature you see in the background, this like big dragon creature, and this other creature, and this other creature, and you could talk about all the different kingdoms. Not only that, not only these kingdoms that you have these other like colonies that apparently a princess is doing all the other soldier work as well. Have these other, you could have like a harem manga, I guess, too, with all the females that are trying to sought after him. You could have so many backstories for these characters, and not just that. Like you had Rin. Rin is a really good character that has a lot of plot development that you could make with her, especially with the sick mom, the experiments, why she's so strong to take on these mutants, how she was so, you know, soulful and, willpower to go through these experiments just to earn some money or something. But it ends so abruptly, and that's the disappointing factor of it. But it doesn't take away how much I genuinely enjoyed this manga. With the rating with this series, I am going to give it about an 8.5 out of 10. That seems pretty high, but given the actual potential it has and how it actually kept me engaged and made me laugh and still makes me smile remembering some of the actual comedy bits, um, definitely has a lot to work on, but it's so good, and I recommend watching it so much. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below what you think. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitch because I'm hopefully going to play the rest of the Mass Effect series, starting from 1 again all the way to Andromeda. I hope your day is as awesome as you guys are. I love you, and I'll see you in the next video.